hard drive, that is a physical magnetic hard drive, and I moved that entire database contents into some solid state drives, right? So much faster. Now, if I do that, it doesn't really have that much of an impact on the schema design, right? Because we designed our database using our relational model that is so abstract that it does not care about the physical level changes that are being made to the database. As long as the database still follows the same schema, it will figure out a way to read the data from either a hard drive or a magnetic tape or an SSD, whatever. Doesn't really matter. But logical level design matters because we need to basically think before we are actually uh, designing that particular database, because when we are designing a database at the logical level, we need to think about, or we need to remember many things, or at least account for many possibilities so that it would allow us to prune out avenues that might lead to more slower approaches. So maybe that I need a database that requires bulk entry of a lot of data. If that is the situation, I really do not want that particular database to be distributed across multiple tables. Instead, I would want that database to be inclusive into a single table so that I can directly load it once, and that then would contain all of the data, as opposed to loading the individual different distributed tables one by one, right? So if you want to, let's say, add or remove columns later down the line, if you want to have the ability to do so, what would be the relationship of those columns to this new table? So whenever we are designing something in the logical abstract plane, we need to think about these possible potential changes and how this particular design can accommodate those newer changes if they come in. Right? So essentially, we need to spend a lot of time actually designing the database schema upfront before actually starting up with populating the database and writing schemas and writing queries and all of those things. Okay. The other thing that we need to remember is we want a representation that would remove unnecessary redundancy, right? So for example, that usually was obvious to us when we were talking about the banking database. Obviously, the account ID was supposed to be a primary key, right? We really do not want every time that a user takes out money or deposits money, we do not want to add a new row for that same account ID and at the new balance, right? Instead, we would want it to update that particular balance in that particular row, right? So we want to remove unnecessary redundancy given the problem that we are given. And we also need to look into the cases as, given the problem, are we designing a database that would not be representing everything that is related to that problem? So if I am designing a banking database and I do not have an attribute for balance, that would be an incomplete representation, right? Or for example, let's say that I am designing a banking database and my primary key is a customer name. Then that could mean that there is a possibility that multiple customers can have the same name, and that would be an incomplete representation because the primary key cannot be duplicates and multiple customer names can be the same, so the primary key cannot be the customer name, right? So we need to make these sort of choices when we are actually designing the database, right? Okay. So yeah, so we need to remember about these things. So how easy or hard is it to actually access the information? How hard is it to update the system later down the line? About performance and scalability. But end of the day, your schema design would have to be a balance between your pragmatic approaches as to what can I make, how can I break this database down into smaller tables so that I get better performance, maybe create indexes and so on. But I also need to maintain an aesthetic of the entire database design so that it is easily understandable and we like the database design. We really do not want it to be separated across multiple tables, right? If given the choice. So for account IDs, for example, we had, I remember the attributes were account ID, branch name, and balance. We really want all of these three things together in a database table. We really don't want account ID, branch name, and account ID balance into two separate tables, right? Because that just looks good. Okay, so any sort of questions so far about these things? Okay, so I talk about these things. Okay. Um, so now comes your entity relationship model, right? So the entity relationship model is essentially a system that represents entities and that represents a relationship between entities. So the basic concepts of entities and relationships are quite simple and it should be quite clear to you, right? Because we have already seen these sort of things before. So an entity is anything, any particular thing that can have some set of attributes. So you can imagine that a laptop is an entity, right? A laptop is an entity that would have sort of represent that would basically be representing a particular laptop. So you can have attributes of that laptop that would be different uh, uh, different dimensions of that laptop or how we are defining it. So for example, so if we have a laptop, we can say that what is the, I don't know, brand, what is the amount of RAM it has, and what is the disk storage size, and so on, right? So those would be the attributes of your laptop, and the laptop itself would be an entity, right? So we can actually, when we are designing entity relationship models, it is usually represented as sort of a box, right? So I believe that in the 5th edition of the book or the 4th edition of the book, it is represented as a bubble, but if it is, don't work with that. Um, Nowadays, people actually use boxes like this, right? Just copy it for future. So essentially what it looks like is this representation would be basically laptop is an entity. So we have the name of that entity here, and then we have the attributes of that laptop here. So we have brand, we can have what, RAM size, we can have, let's say, what else did I say, disk size, right? Now we can also have another entity that is essentially, let's say, owners, right? So people, basically people who own stuff, right? So owners, and it can have, let's say, name would be a good attribute. What else? Address and stuff, right? So these would be two entities. And you can see that these sort of correspond to attributes and table names in the relation model, right? So these are essentially that thing. When we are representing something like this, essentially it means that laptop is your table name, and then we have attributes. So entities and table names are sort of interchangeable in this representation, right? So an entity set is a collection of entities that have the same attributes. So that is how this is particularly defined. So an entity itself is basically anything that can be stored, and an entity set is a set of those values that have the same attributes. So an entity set would correspond to, so okay, so let me ask you guys this thing. So an entity is basically the same as this table name. So the laptop is an entity, and basically that is the table name. Entity attributes are essentially what are the attributes for that particular laptop. So these are corresponding to your column names, right? So attributes would be these brand name, RAM size, disk size, whatever. An entity set is a set of values for that particular entity. So can everyone see a mapping between entity sets, and does that sound similar to tuples to everyone? So entity sets are essentially tuples that we have. Those are the actual values that come in that particular entity set. For those of you who are good at object-oriented programming, you can imagine this to be a class, this to be the set of variables, and an entity set would be the list of objects that we actually create when we actually use this particular class. Right? Okay. So an entity has a set of attributes. An entity set specify a particular set of values that follow these set of attributes. So every entity in the entity set has the same set of attributes, and every entity in the entity set has its own value for each of those attributes, right? And as with last time, each attribute has its own name, has its own domain, and each attribute can have its own corresponding value, right? So how do we design an entity? So essentially, like we saw last time, we have a box that is basically the name of that entity. The customer entity set for our banking database would essentially look like this. We would have attributes that are customer ID, name, street address, city, let's say. So those are the attributes that go inside that box. The name of the entity set goes on top part of that box. All the attributes are listed in the lower part of that. So, right. So that is essentially how you represent an entity in this formulation. This is similar to having that schema design for a customer ID, right? So this is basically the relational models equivalent of actually diagramming the actual entity set, right? Any questions on this? Right. Now comes relationships. So remember that a customer can actually take out a loan, right? So that is a relationship between a loan and a customer, right? So a relationship is usually associated between two or more entities, right? A bank loan and a customer who owns it, right? So relationship is essentially a named collection of relations of the same type. It has to be the same type, and essentially that is what defines a relationship. So if we have entity sets E1 through En, where entities are E1 through En small lower cases, though we can say that a relationship set is the same set of relations between these set of entities E1, E2, E3, E4, and so on, right? So they relate the same set of entities, right, for a particular specific relationship in R. So yeah, so as you can see that essentially entity sets participate in relationship sets. Right? So two things can be related. So with a relationship, and entity sets are essentially participating in those relations, right? So if we look at our laptop example, we can say that one particular laptop is owned by a owner, right? So we can say that this is the relationship between the two. This is not the exact diagram, but I'm going to work on it later. So basically the relation would have the name owns, and essentially you would have uh, uh, this relation connecting these two entity sets, right? The laptop and the owners, right? So you can imagine that owns would be a sort of a different table, or for example, it could be a foreign key constraint, or in case of the borrower table, a different table that holds those values. Or for example, both of those keys are primary keys. So maybe we have a laptop ID here and a user ID here that has a corresponding. So for example, we can have, let's say, laptop ID, and essentially we can have user ID, and we say